this was yesterday's lesson. There's a few bits that I just want to change or tweak. Not much though. And I was thinking about the I suppose it's the execution of things that intrigues me, because you'll see I'll do it in a minute, but it's like, the evolutionary thing, that what's happened there, and the way the marks and the tones have developed, and it's all that kind of stuff, and it's like I'm not in control of those things. And then I'm as I say, I'm we all do, glancing on Pinterest or whatever. I'm looking for references mostly, which is what today's reference is from, where that's from, and seeing some amazing art, and then asking the question, what is art? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, everything is art. So everything and nothing. But it's that definition thing, the amazing skill in production, or the amazing spontaneity of things. It's all just amazing. And somehow you gotta let all that be, and it not infect you in some way. That's the thing for me. Because as soon as it infects you, it's not only that you start to produce in a way that is influenced, you're also judging in a way that's influenced by, judging your own work by what you see, and ultimately you've got issues with comparison and things like that. So, but it was just this question, of, is it art? And I'd seen Paul Ingbertson talking about illustration and painting, and how paintings are kind of, to some, more illustrative than painting. And I'm going to draw this girl, by the way. What I quite like about this is you see I don't know if this is the design of it, but can you see that sort of flow? That's what I like. And if I'm going to get anything from this, it's not about whether I'm getting the eyes in the right place or the nose and everything. It's that. It's got to be that amazing flow. This thing seems a bit duller, isn't it? The frame rate's not very good on here, is it? Typical YouTube. We've got no choice, haven't we? We've got to use it. So that was the thing that struck me. And it must have impact on everybody in the same way. Whilst ever you're looking at other work, it's always going to be about what you do fits in all of that, and whether or not it's relevant. It's relevant to think like that. I don't know. I don't know if it is or isn't. I'm just saying that, the amazing work that you see everywhere is and which is designated as art. And if you've got a mind that is, I'm an artist, and that's my definition, and inevitably you're part of that world and that conglomeration of amazing talent, and whether or not you need to consider it to be, I probably don't consider what I do to be art. And I was looking at a guy this morning, incredible illustrator, Brazil, I think, and every one of his drawings, it's mostly drawings, every one of his drawings is incredible, but they're all the same. They're just the same. They're sort of different subjects. Well, they're not actually. They're the same subject. And if I told you, you'd probably find them and see what I meant, but I don't want to do that. But that's not, for me, that's not what it's about. It's almost like that's kind of like finding a formula and then applying it to everything. And I get it. I know why that would happen, and you know, the way you see the world, the way you respond to the world, and all the rest of it, and you develop a way of doing that, your own kind of visual language. So I can understand that, but for me, which is this question of, if you look at my Instagram, about, I mean, they generally are just drawings of good-looking people, even when they've got beards, you know. But the it's not. I don't feel as though it's a predictable solution every time, a predictable response every time. You know, using the same kind of marks, using the same kind of. It might be. To me, I can't see it, but other people might. But so that then sort of leads you to say, you know, this thing about I saw something the other day where somebody was saying about, you know, you've got to make, I think they were opposed to this, but they were saying, and it's the thing that I experienced all those years ago in a gallery, said that, you know, you've got to do the same work all the time. So people buy into that continuity sort of thing. And I think he'd found this as well, this guy, and he was saying that it was wrong to think like that. And I agree, it is wrong. But at the time I didn't know any better. I was only a young man of 35. I was a boy. I was a child. And so I didn't know any better. So I took it to heart, and, you know, and it didn't bode well, as you know. But the now it's quite the opposite. I feel as though, you know, it's like meeting. I think painting portraits or drawing portraits is like meeting someone new every time. And every time you meet somebody, you don't respond to them in the same way every time, because they're not necessarily going to be receptive. They may not even speak the same language, but you know what I mean. But you're not going to respond to them the same every time. You wouldn't, would you? So why would you paint them or draw them in the same way every time? Because that's how you do it. You get into that familiar routine, and then is that then, because this person does that every time, is that then art? Because I'll tell you what I was thinking about when I was developing the training thing. I developed this training system to monitor all the dodgy training companies in Britain, and one of the things I can't remember the phrase, but it was all about whether or not, you know, when people are assessed in the training world, there's a question about whether or not it's a coincidence or a stroke of luck that they did that thing, or whether or not it's something they can repeat. And if they can repeat, then it's considered to be, you know, a skill, if you like. And that I think is at the crux of what I'm trying to get to, which is, I don't think that it should be something that's guaranteed to work every time. I think it's good that it doesn't work every time. That just means that you're alive and it's a fluid thing, you know, and and you're trying to get a handle on the world, and you know what I mean. And it just seems more human to be like that than to say, oh, every painting I do is exactly this. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I think that I'm probably barking up the wrong tree, swimming up the wrong stream, or whatever. But it's just, these are the sort of questions I need to ask. You know, I need to ask these questions. I might be completely misguided, and as someone says, pontificating about something, but I don't know. Curiosity is probably the root of all of this. I think curiosity is the root of or one of the fundamentals of an artist is curiosity, particularly if you're talking about the sort of childlike approach to it, the sort of response thing, the creative response thing. It's going to be a the curiosity thing that drives your response. So I'm curious that is it right that there is this formulaic approach to art, or whether or not it is a and it's based on skill and repetition and all that kind of stuff, or is it just something that happens without any deliberation? And if it happens without a deliberation, how on earth do you then designate it as art? Because you can't, can you? Because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with the normal formula of what people define as art. Or does it? Or does it? Or does it? You know, these people that are critics of art, and and possibly other artists, when they look at art, real art, or art in general, do they have this assessment of it moves them or whatever? Is there some kind of criteria? I mean, my criteria for art, or anything that I like, should we say, I wouldn't go as far as saying I define something as art, but my criteria is honesty and purity, and I can see that, regardless of skill, and I can see that in work, and that's what I find most appealing, I suppose. I can say that that's creative. It's creativity at work. It's creativity because of this special one, which is kind of what I was trying to get at with that thing yesterday. Drawing on the drawing yesterday in the lesson, this one, and things were happening. I mean, it could just be a replica of a face, if it's a skill application thing, and there is some skill in there, but that's what makes it what it is for me. It's the things that were just pure responsive things, and my decision to go with those things, my decision that those are things that are capturing the thing, capturing the moment, capturing the essence. It's my decision to do that, rather than thinking, I must make that super smooth, I must make that blended, I must do, all that kind of stuff. And it was every even the people that have formulas must have that criteria. They must be look at it in terms of their own judgment of what it is it's doing, unless it is a judgment of skill, unless it's a judgment of that's not, it's not smooth enough, or that flesh tone or that whatever is not accurate enough, or all that kind of stuff. And I suppose if it gets into that, it's pretty easy then to say, what is and what isn't. And it's going to be a lot easier. I think that's another thing about the safety. I've said this before about the safety. Sorry, the security of detail. When you get into doing something detailed, it's quite a secure thing to say. It's very detailed. Therefore, there's the safety in detail. You can't fail if you apply, such skill that you can replicate detail, and it becomes indistinguishable from reality. You can't really fail if you get those skills. You develop those skills to be able to do that. It's quite a safe way to go about doing this. So you don't have that scary thing that it might not work. You don't have any of that. And I get that. I would say that that's probably 99% of people that do this is have they move the wrist and move which is the Florence type of thing, the Barg stuff and all that. It was all about making sure that the students did the work in a acceptable standard and in a way that the master did it. It was all about ensuring that, and that's kind of still goes on, I think. But with artist students themselves now, it's always about it has to be as good as sort of thing. And but as I said, it's a funny thing for me. It's like What is it that defines what we do? Is it somebody else's definition? We have talked about that before, somebody else's definition of what we do, and whether it's a subliminal suggestion of what it is, i.e. the stuff you see on the socials or on a game show on the telly or whatever, or somebody walking around a gallery and talking about, giving their opinion, and which is often, these are experts and they pronounce something to be great art, and we kind of go along with it. It's mostly promoted by the Muggles because the Muggles don't really know, but they would impose this legislation on us that this is art. Whatever you're doing is a lot of crap, but this is art. So you get into that position where you think, oh my goodness, I could never do that. And that's the thing I was talking about the other day when I did the podcast. This thing of, why does somebody else's definition of what it is that we do, why should that in some way impede or stop, full stop, people from enjoying the process of making art, of making a portrait, just because it doesn't look like somebody else's definition of a portrait, or the usual thing with portraits. It's got to look like them. It's got to look like them. It's got to look every hair and every eyelash and everything. The usual sort of crap. Is it right that people are like precluded from the enjoyment of doing this just on somebody else's say so, somebody else's definition of what is good and what is not? No, it's not, is it really, if you think about it? Because you just don't know. This is the thing about I'm not going to put it up because I thought about it afterwards. It's a bit weird. I was talking about the idea of talent and it's kind of existence, if you like. And there is loads of examples. You've seen them. You've seen the amazing art that's out there. You've seen amazing musicians. I mean, I was blown away by a musician and a young singer the other day, and it was just like, it reset everything for me. It was just so moving, shall we say? And that sounds naff, but you know what I mean. It was such a powerful thing. And I'd seen this before. I'd seen this when I was, and I know it's taken him a long time. Teddy Swims he went and did them, and it's all set up. I know they go and walk up to somebody on the street and they it's a random thing and start singing, and yeah, we all. I don't really care that it's set up because it was just astounding, and it got me thinking at the time about why and how. It's so important that if you have something special, and I can probably guarantee that every one of us has got something special, then it's got to be brought into the world. It's got to exist in reality. It can't just be either something hidden away or something about art the other day. If it's hidden away, then you're depriving the world of something. You are in a way, I suppose, but I think that's a little bit pretentious. But probably a gallery was saying that. But this idea that there is something special inside you, and it really needs to be shown. It really needs to find its way out. And if you've got to be able to do this, you've got to be able to do that. And you've got to be able to do it to this standard. If that stops people from bringing their light into the world, then that's terrible. When I did this video yesterday, I was really upset about that. The thought that people would have something inside them, some force, some energy that is being restricted from becoming reality because of somebody's definition, somebody else's definition. And I, as I say, I just went to pieces on this when I did the video I sent it to my friend, and I was in tears thinking about this idea that, because it relates to me. I mean, I just did that. I let other people's definition decide on whether or not what I did was any good, and not just the end result, but the way I did it. That's not good, is it? That's not good at all. And like I say, I didn't have the privilege of having an artistic, creative, fine art background. So I suspect, although I think it's not true, but let me give them the benefit of doubt and say that they help people to find their true self. In truth, what happens is it's a bit of a find it yourself kind of situation. And I know Jackson went through that, and it was like they called it self-directed learning, which means basically the tutors just go into hiding for 3 months and doing their own thing, and then come out and pass judgment. You know what I mean? Not seen the artist, the student, for 3 months, they impose their will, their judgment, and not good. Anyway, but let's say that they, in an ideal world, they would be there to help them find their light, which is probably true of all teachers. But then again, we all know that ain't true. Sorry for all you teachers out there, but it's the reality. Let's face it. I've experienced with too many teachers, but I probably just insulted half the population of the world there. So, but you got to be honest with yourself, aren't you? I got to be honest. Anyway, so this thing, you must be as good as, in order for it to be. I hate all that. It's why I don't like the game show. I don't like game show full stop, but I don't like the game show because it has this terrible. My friend who he says he was inspired to paint because of that show. That's not good. It's not good. I don't care what you say. You know, it's unless it's a case of, well, I could do that. Well, in which case, yeah, that's a good reason to be, because yes, you can. Yes, you can. If they can do it, I can do it. It's probably the best way to be inspired by another artist is to say, well, crikey, if that's what he calls out, well, I can do that with my eyes shut. I love all that. And that, I think, is probably the best way to look at the game show. If inspiration from others is what you think is the way to go about doing this. But anyway, this idea that it's only art when it fits criteria thing, which is like, Tracy Emin said that thing, and it's art when I say it is. I think that's wonderful, and I'm as I said, all art is art to me. Everything that people create, if you like, can be considered to be art. I have no criteria by which I'll, other than it has to be genuine, honest, and not built on some show off kind of look at my skill kind of thing. Look how detailed I can make this. That's, to me, that's not. I can't judge that. I have no interest in the skill based art. I just think I think that's because of the illustration thing, though. It's like and what I went through with the illustration. So maybe it's wrong, but I just don't. I don't get the. For me, I don't get the skill is art thing, or art is skill. Like somebody said, well, if it's not skill, then what is it? You can't. You know what I mean? You can't reason with unreasonable people. If somebody says that to you, if somebody says if it's not skill, then what is it? You just got to walk away from that, because you're never gonna convince that person that art is more than skill, because it's always going to be skill to them, and that's the downside to this, predefined thing, that it has to be that. So if that is the case, and that's obviously got into this kid's brain, then that a lot of people will think like that. A lot of people will think that it has to be that. And then what does that do? It's back to this thing of, I can't do it. Do not. People say that to me sometimes. I don't have the skills to do that, and I'll say to them, what skill got to do with it? And that all of a sudden it's takes away there's no obstacle. So I've immediately taken away the thing that was stopping them from doing it. It's probably more to do with their psychology than it is to do with whether they've got skills or not, but they're just using the skill excuse. And that, as I said, is for me is the problem with it all. I think everybody should create. I think everybody's got a light that needs to be brought out into the open. So, and if you don't do it, what are you here for? If you are creative, if you have a need to be creative, if a need and want and desire and all that sort of stuff, those things are what people apply to getting a new car or going on holiday or that kind of. Being an artist is beyond that kind of want, need, desire thing. Being an artist is being an artist. That's it. I think the fundamental thing of we want to create, don't we? Most people, to most people, that has been subdued. At whatever age it gets knocked out of us. But there are people that, and unfortunately, wait until their life's nearly over before they decide that it is a bit like me. It is something that I have to do before it's too late. That's bad, isn't it? That's I've got to do this before it's too late. What does that do to the way that you work? I mean, the only thing that I would say that's affected me is the way I think about this. I've less concern for what others think about it, and that's old age that does that. That thing about as you get older, you get less impressed by things, and you realise what's important, and then I can then compact that with my experience with cancer, and all of a sudden my perspective on life is amplified, shall we say, in a certain way. And but that, as I said, is that's what happens. We get, life, people, society subdues the creative soul in us, and we end up either putting it off like I did, or waiting like I did. At least I did it as a job to start with, even though it was not a good way to go about doing it because of how it because naturally an illustrator it's going to be about formulas, it's going to be about that sort of thing, and all that is just going to not really it's not good for a painter, for an artist. The commercial application of I went to Paris on our honeymoon, and you do the normal thing, you walk around Montmartre and had a portrait done by one of these guys, and he asked me what I did, and he was so dismissive. Commercial artist, he said, and he was so dismissive. I was kind of insulted by it, but I now know what he meant. Although, having said that, he was probably the most commercial artist I ever met, because he was just knocking out these dodgy portraits, walking around with a clipboard type of easel thingy and just knocking out these. And so there were lots of very commercial artists there you've seen them doing a stack of little landscapes or little urban views of the Montmartre or any part of Paris. And but as I said, he did say he kind of poo-pooed the idea that I was a commercial artist, and I was offended by it, and but now I understand. But that was, I wasn't aware. That was the the thing. I wasn't aware of what being a commercial artist, being an illustrator, was doing to me as an artist. What it was, how it was formulating this success was based on. I mean, success was really based on whether you illustrated the fact that somebody was getting in and out of a car or sat at a bar or what. That was the success, and the client liked it, whether or not the person was attractive enough and all that kind of stuff, or whether or not a lot of soft drinks things, whether or not you illustrated the bottle, the glass, and the fluids in it effectively and all that. So that was kind of a different thing to what illustrators do now. Majority of them, it is more of a decorative thing. Although you still get people illustrating, somebody walking and sitting and, the usual sort of things to illustrate and almost like a diagram. And, but that is a thing that, in a way, it just took away all the creativity for me, all the special thing, the thing about why the marks are the way they are, or just the essence. It took it away for me of what it is to do this. So I might as well have not done it. I might as well just do what they do now and push a mouse around and call myself a designer, because that would have been less detrimental to my creative soul. So, but as I said, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do something that's not creative at all, and then think one day they're going to fact. Jackson's just been on a job, and he was with this guy, a sound engineer, who wants to be a DJ and create music, but he's a sound engineer on a TV show, and absolutely hates it. A bit like me doing the graphics, and he absolutely hates doing it, and it just, he just wants one good job. I think he's freelance, and he just one good job so he can afford the equipment for him to be a DJ and write music. And I remember that was me. I was me. I just wanted one good job, to be able to pack this in and pack it in and be an artist. But I didn't. I'd already been damaged, so it wasn't like I was going to set up a studio and start doing, amazing landscapes and whatever. I'd been damaged and really didn't know what was going on. It took 30 years for me to get back to a place where my perceptions of doing this was completely reset. Was my hard drive was completely wiped over those years. And I came back to I was doing some of the old stuff. I was doing some of it's just sort of muscle memory things. Like when I play guitar now, I play things that I played when I was, 18. And I can't remember how to play them. I can't remember the chords, I can't remember, but my fingers can remember. So when I came back and I started doing this, my fingers could remember. And so, but I then got into the psychology of it all and why I did what I do. And that then changed everything. So then everything, this is why I end up asking these questions. Is it art? Is it art to do it like that? Is it art to do it like everybody else? Is it art to do it in the way they told me I should do it? Is it art to keep doing it in exactly the same way? To create a style, as people refer to it? I don't know. I just think I think most of all, they're just doing it thing. And I hate that because it's one of those 90s kind of self-improvement things. Just do it. But I think that is probably the best way to think about it. Just doing it and just enjoy doing it. It's probably what it is. So not just do it. It is just enjoy doing it. And then things happen. And don't do it for someone else. Don't do it. If you've got an opportunity, like I said to somebody the other week, if you've got an opportunity to be creative today, do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it because they say you should do it like this. You've got to do it for yourself, because that's the thing. If the light is that, your creative force is that, then it's going to have to come out under your terms. It can't come out as a pastiche of somebody else's work, or someone else's way of doing it. It's this thing of I'm going to do a master copy today. Why are you going to do a master? It's just stupid. Oh, well, you learn, and the people who qualify that, and people probably argue with me on here, are the people that are doing this thing of saying art is this. They're doing that. They're saying art is this because somebody else told them that art was that. And that, what does that tell you about them as an artist? They just want to do it like everybody else, and they want to follow the crowd. They want to fit in. Art should never fit in. It's got to be something that is at, I wouldn't say loggerheads, but it has to be something that's questions the world. That's what it's got to be. It's got to question your worldview. And that, going back to this thing of, finding your light and me seeing the young girl and the pianist of the day, what happened when I saw that? Same when I saw Teddy Swims. What happened when I saw those artists performing was that it made me question my world. It made me. I said on the comments on the girl and the guy, the pianist. I said that this is just, it just resets my world listening to this, and it makes me think. Hang on a minute, why are we here? If I've got this thing, right, in me, then I've got to get it out. It's like Alien. It's going to come out of my chest. You know what I mean? It's going to burst out. It's in me. I've got to get it out. I think that's kind of sentiment my wife said when we came out when she had the boys. But you know what I mean? It's like it's got to come out. And that, I suppose, is the driver for me. It's not just the every day. It's the joy, because it is. That's probably the one of the drivers, isn't it? I just love doing it. But the other one is that it's got to come out. I've got to get this thing out of me, and I've got to not necessarily show the world, because that's not really why I do it. It's not. I just think it has to come out. I think that when somebody was talking about creative, being creative, creative acts, and I said that I don't think any creative act is a waste of time. I don't care if it works or doesn't work or meets the criteria or whatever. No creative endeavor is a waste of time. It can't be, because somehow it seeps into the cosmos. Somehow it gets into the cosmos, and that again, this is Robert Enright. It's not me just thinking like this. Robert Enright thought about the creative cosmos, and that and that's kind of hocus pocus, I would have thought, back in those days when he was writing it. I think they still believe in witches. But if there is some kind of cosmic connection to what we do, then this is the thing about the particles and whatever. When we create something from nothing, which is what we're doing, that exists in the universe, that exists in the cosmos. So it doesn't matter whether anybody sees it or not. It exists in this universe, in this time frame. And so as I said, that's really what why I feel like I do about the doing it and not showing it and things. It doesn't really matter for me about showing it, apart from on here. And then, I mean, what matters to me more than anything is that I help people to find this thing, their light. That's what happens. That's what I think is my thing, that I want people to find their light, and every day to be a joy for them. That's what I want. So this is not about me being great at this and me being in shows and exhibitions and all that sort of stuff and getting accolades, if I can say it. it's not about that. So I'm trying to get the size of a hair to balance. You know what I mean? To do that, so it's got to come there, and then this kind of goes up here to push that down and get down there. So this is the flow thing I was thinking about. You know, this. Yeah. So the next thing really is this. That there. Yeah. I think the only thing that I'd say, and I was talking about it on yes, is the tonal thing. I think you underestimate. No, I'm switching back into talking about doing it now. So I think we underestimate the way that tones shape the way, you know, the not just the physical elements, but the general atmospheric, emotional elements of it. You know, in this endeavour to draw the lines around things and to be illustrative, we miss the value of the tones. We miss the value of how, and the guys that really make it work, you know, the guys that do the photographic kind of things, they're the guys that understand about the tones. I mean, there is underneath all that, there is great draftsmanship, but it's not the draftsmanship that makes it great. It's the way that they are able to understand how simple tones, subtle tones, can shape the work and the emotional response to it. Because I think that's probably something that is fundamental for me as well. Is that art is an emotional response. So my emotional response to work that I see is connecting with the honesty and the purity thing. Is it done from a place of honesty and purity, regardless of their skill? So it is an emotional response. I can't really say any other. But as I said, these guys that can really do the tonal stuff, that they've got that off pat. You know, they can do the. I mean, admittedly, it's black and white normally, and it's photographic in its execution, but they understand about the tonal, the emotional tonal elements of it. Well, the way that tones can affect the emotional elements of something. But whereas if you look at, say, a Sargent charcoal, doesn't have any of that. Doesn't have. You might do something as tonally dense as this, but there is a lot of linear execution to it. It's not strictly something that is attempted, and I think that's probably because, as I said, my friend who was talking about, and he does do the hyper realistic type of charcoal, photographic almost, and he was saying about how much he liked Sargent, and I said it was because of there was there wasn't the amount of photography used. I know they use photography. I mean, Alphonse Musher used great big photographs and painted over them, I know, but I think it's because the perception of what is expected then wasn't photographic, and he was able just to draw it and and make some fabulous charcoals, but they don't have that photographic element to them. And I that's what, for me, I don't think it's bad or good either way. I just like the purity of something that's being drawn and it's seen to be drawn, and yet it in some way is able to simulate the tonal qualities, like tonal values of things. So in this there, it's drawn. It's just that's it drawn, but yet there's still tonality in there that's manipulating the form. So it's kind of best of both worlds. It's somewhere between the drawn of a sergeant and the photographic execution of charcoals today. So it sits somewhere between. I think, if anything, I think Oliver Syn does that. I think his are clearly drawings, and I think that's probably where I'd like to sit in that area, where it's not an attempt to make a photographic rendering. It's a different thing, I think, because that's when skills would be paramount. That's when, again, it's back to this is different. You know, when you start doing this, and as I did, right, you put together a folder of all the charcoal artists you find, Oliver Syn and all these, you know, Zin Lim and all the other guys in that ilk, and just get blown away by it all. And you get to a point where the skill aspect of it becomes a thing. You know, it becomes to be able to do all this stuff. And it becomes about the skill. But when you see these guys that are doing it, like I say, like the Oliver Syns of this world, you can see that there is skill. There's great skill in that. That just, you know, practice, tens of years of skill that's gone into that, into what he does. Not least of all because of his construction approach. You know, whereas mine's just a freehand kind of thing. His is constructed, so he'll do everything has to be defined before he starts colouring in. But I think I don't know whether or not. I mean, there are some amazing. If you look on Pinterest or on there are some amazing people in all of this kind of area that do incredible things. You know, proper drawn stuff. I mean, if you can get past all the AI stuff now, because it's just getting beyond the joke now with the people putting and claiming that it's their work and it's clearly an AI thing, and then getting upset when people call it AI. There was a guy the other day it was AI. He couldn't get away from the fact that it was there. You can see a mile off, and he was having a right go because people were calling it AI when he spent so long on doing it. No, you didn't. You can tell a mile if you didn't. But as I say, it's one of those. It's a bit of a curse at the moment, I suppose. But going back to the is it art thing, and then going back to I suppose it's appropriate. I'm talking about AI. If it's a predetermined outcome, if it's something that says it has to be like this or it's not art, and it has to be done in a certain way, surely that's a formula. And if that's a formula, AI can create formulas. It can work to a formula. If it's not, if it's something that I have no idea how this is going to turn out kind of situation, then AI hasn't got a clue about that, because it could never be that creative. It can only replicate, even though it's really good at replicating, but it can only ever replicate. So if you're an artist that replicates, you're kind of you're in the AI firing zone, basically, because AI can replicate really well, a lot better than you and a lot quicker than you can. So I would say that if you wanted to, this is probably a advice that people don't need. If you're a real artist, you don't need to be told to be yourself. But that is the truth of it. If you be yourself, and whatever marks, you know, however they seem to be stylized and repeated, whatever those marks are, if they are your personal response to something, you know, through the filter of your creative soul, then nothing can replicate that. Nothing can do that. They may well be able to do it in the style of, you know, the way you work. But I'd say, going back to the reason to do it thing, I'd say let your light guide you through this. And I guarantee that it will be unique and special to you, and therefore unreplicable, unable to be replicated. But that, as I said, is the root of all this is it art? And the moment you start to define it as art and what is art, I think that's when you're going to fall down. That's when it's going to be more and more difficult for you to do what you do. I mean, I suppose I had that with subjects. Not now, but then it was. I mean, I just try and switch it up every time because I get bored of drawing beardy old men. So that's probably my criteria. My criteria is keep it fresh every time, but also I don't want too much detail, and I want it to be high contrast and usual sort of stuff. It just makes it easy to draw. That's all. And other than that, I just think it's a case of you just got to do it. You got to do it without thinking or without judgment. During the process of doing it. Is it detailed enough? Have I got that? Have I got that? Yeah. I say it's a conundrum in a way. Whether or not it's art. It's just a conundrum. I tend to default if anybody asks me about whether it's art or not. I just let somebody else decide. So it's get out the question kind of thing. And without answering it, a bit like a politician. Hey, I could be a politician. Just answer it by throwing back a question. Yeah, but as this is developing and it's getting better and better, and the tones are getting more in line with what they should be, and I'm losing things that shouldn't be there, and getting rid of the highlights that shouldn't be there, but I think this is the paper thing, paper and charcoal. Sorry about that. That's YouTube doing its thing. Thank you, YouTube. I tell you what, it's the last few weeks, probably last month, it has been absolutely terrible. It's just I can't tell you the number of times it drops. I mean, I tape every one of them now just in case. Sorry, I record every one of them. So show me age when I said tape. Anyway, I record every one of them because it's just not. YouTube is just not sustainable. If you were doing lives, permanently, God knows how you'd carry on with it, because it's just not a viable platform. There's got to be something better than this. Just something that is. Somebody used Zoom the other day, and that's even worse. I mean, the quality of recording from Zoom is just sound and everything. It's just really bad. So it must be the amount of people that are using it. It's got to be, hasn't it? It's got to be the amount of. I mean, I'm upgrading my connection to full fiber, and the fastest there is, and it's just not good enough. But because I record it, at least I can upload the recordings, But what I was saying about the interesting thing about this combination of charcoal and paper, that's you can see it's like because it's just copier paper, and it has terrible surface on it. For a charcoal, it doesn't like doesn't bite in any way. It doesn't like anything that is grainy or granular. It doesn't accept it, and it'll bulk up like the eye is bulking up there. And I have to go around and fix those things. But in a way, it's back to this thing of it's not about the execution stuff. It has these side effects that are, if I exploit those side effects, I get interesting or better results in a way. because I'm not really concerned with the smoothness and the blending and all the rest of it. So it's just more about the effect. It's back to the the tonal side of it. There are things happening there, for instance, around that area that are they're not replicable. I couldn't say I'm going to do that every time. And the paper, and I say the paper and the charcoal almost conspire, as you can see, it's starting to do it now. They conspire to create this effect. And providing I'm open to it and I can see it happening, then I can exploit it. It's also interesting that the way that the things the charcoal sits on the paper and the way it smudges or blends. I think it feels like more painting than drawing. It definitely feels like, there's some of the things. I know I don't like to draw outlines around things and colour them in, and I'm not really that kind of constructed approach thing. But as I'm drawing with tones and shapes, it does feel like more like a painting. It feels more because of the almost continuous tone thing. I know I do the hatching, random hatching stuff, but often that's just a case of applying some tones which I can then blend. So and often I'll leave the marks on. I'll leave the initial hatching on there. Don't ask me why. It's back to that thing of it's just my thing. It's just my way of, is this doing what I'm trying to do kind of question, and whether or not it's an accurate response, I suppose. But I'm not. Even then, I'm not even conscious of that. Half the time, I'm not even conscious of it. It's just doing it. It's just happening. And I said to somebody the other day, sometimes when I'm doing this, it's like I'm watching somebody else do it. It's like, and out of somebody again, up, what do they call it? Up soul or something, or soul up above soul or something like that. It's like an outer body thing, which is great. It's like, it's a lot easier for me if somebody else is doing it, isn't it? I also think that one of the things that I've learned from using, and when I go back to normal paper, this is going to be a bit of a shock, but one of the things I've learned is that I'm not 100% in control of it, and it will be a sort of a progressive evolution to with this charcoal, with this paper, with the box standard paper that I used before. It was just sketchbook paper. I could get to black straight away. I can make things dark straight away, or there was instant density. You know what I mean? With this, it's a progressive thing, and in a way, I quite like that. This was happening here. I quite like the progressive establishing of tones, the darker tones. There's just something about the marks within the marks. I'm always on about how charcoal has this depth. And I think in this, with this, where the charcoal just doesn't want to sit on the surface, and I'm working into it and trying to make it as dark as it needs to be. I think that that kind of exploits this density thing, the density within the densities. It's getting serious when I get the cotton buds out. It's a bit like the tiny brushes. I'm at the stage where home straight, if you like, of getting things. I've still got a little bit of a shaping issue. This issue. It's not bad. The mouth's a little bit big, and the eye still is just a little bit too big in there. But it's nearly there. So I'm nearly getting that. You with me? That bit, and then the hair. The hair is probably a little bit too far down this side for this side. It's just the balance thing. So if that's there and then that's there, you see what I mean? That's immediately changing, isn't it? But that was I just think it's because they're trying to emphasize this feeling, and then the other one's the neck being a little bit too, and it needs to be. I'm just looking at alignments here. It just actually, that alignment there doesn't end up with the side of a face, but it's more straighter than I got it. So it's more like that. And then the is about there. Yeah. It's probably going to have background on this, so it's going to help me to just rectify a few of these misalignments. Don't know yet. But I don't know if you can see it on this. Can you see on? Yeah, you can see the textual thing is that, and this is the paper doing this. And when I touch it, and there's grease on my finger or whatever, there is a little bit of breakup of the charcoal, which it's almost like I say, like a textual thing. I think the other thing about it is the question of it is, for me, is, and this is when you work from screens, you always have that problem of it's a backlit illuminated screen, so everything is going to be lighter than it should be, and this side of the face is probably in complete darkness in reality, but because it's back illuminated, you can see the details within it. And sometimes I think it's better just to kind of ignore that and try and override that and trying to think of it as not being backlit. In a way, it's probably better to use photographs than to use screens, because it wouldn't suffer from the backlit thing, obviously. but it's the cost of making big prints and whatever, isn't it? And the other problem I've got with it as well is the side by side, size for size stuff. You know, people put a picture at the side and then draw lines across it. You know, we'll get into technique and all that, and just, yeah. At least this way, I can push the reference further back as if she's sat in the row with me, and I'm going to draw it in that way. I'll not pick it up. I won't do what people do with, you know, the phones, and they pick it up and zoom in and out and all that sort of thing. I'm not interested in that. That just throws my view of something. And if it's about detail on something, then I'm not interested. So it's just going to be an image that is fixed. I've said this before about the fixed image thing. If you want to draw freehand, you're going to draw. I mean, obviously, from life is probably better, but life is miserable, isn't it? You know, people staring at walls. I know she's staring at walls and staring at me, but if you're looking up to find images like this that have personality, then, and this is a Pinterest thing. But if you can find stuff like that, great. But if you can't, majority of the time, model shots are always somebody staring at a wall. Even when you download them from supposedly artists, you know, academy type of things, they're all people staring at walls. So that begs the question: these people really understand what this is about? It's not really about how well we can draw someone staring at a wall, but it is to a lot of people, obviously. Anyway, I'm just about done with this, apart from all this sort of tweaking of things. And back to is it art? I think everything's art. I think everything and nothing is art. That's probably the most profound thing I could say. Everything and nothing. But what isn't art is what everybody else tells you is. There you go. There you go. So don't listen to other people. If they say it's art, that's their opinion. It's not. It doesn't have to be your opinion. And that's the kicker, because at the end of the day, we all want to fit in, don't we? We all want to do it like somebody else. We want to be defined by compliance. Compliance. Now, I defy any artist, real artist, to say that they want to comply. They want to comply with, because they don't, do they? No real artist wants to comply, to be the same, to do it the same. I mean, how many great artists are out there? I mean, I watch them every day on YouTube or on Instagram or Pinterest, and they're just like incredible. I'm not so keen on the doers. I'm not so keen on the, you know, the decorators, but nevertheless, I'm you know, it's all art or creative, shall we say. But anyway, as I'm done now, apart from all the little tweaks that I'm going to do just to get the tones working right, and just going to fix the eye a little bit and do a bit of sculpture on it. And I'll stick it on the socials if we're connected, and you'll see how it developed. Yeah, I'm going to fiddle with the hair a little bit just to get that bit, but I think once I put the background onto it, it'll be better. I can get the shape a bit better defined on the top there. Right, I love you, leave you, and I'll catch you in the next one.